It was Christmas Eve in 1945, and the Sodder family's home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, was alive with the warmth of the season. Laughter echoed through the halls as the children played. The scent of pine filled the air, and the promise of Christmas morning lingered. But as the clock struck midnight, the Sodders' world turned to ash, and 5 of their children vanished, leaving behind only questions, theories, and a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. The Sodders were an Italian immigrant family. George Sodder, the patriarch, was a successful businessman and a man of strong opinions. His wife, Jenny, was devoted to her family and kept their home running smoothly. Together they had 10 children, ranging from toddlers to teenagers, and like many families that night, they were celebrating the holiday together. The older children had asked for permission to stay up late, playing with their new toys, while Jenny and George retired to bed. Around 1 a.m., Jenny was startled awake by the sound of the phone ringing. When she answered, a strange voice on the other end asked for someone Jenny didn't know. She later recalled that the woman on the other end had a bizarre, almost mocking laugh. Jenny hung up uneasy, but thought little of it at the time. Moments later, she heard a loud thud on the roof, following by a rolling sound like something falling. She listened for a moment, but, again, dismissed the noise and went back to bed. It wasn't long before Jenny was jolted awake again, this time by the unmistakable smell of smoke. She rushed out of bed to find the house ablaze. Flames had already consumed the living room and were spreading rapidly through the home. George and Jenny managed to escape with 4 of their children, but when they tried to reach the bedrooms where their other 5 children slept, the flames blocked their way. George frantically tried to rescue them, smashing a window to re-enter the house, but thick smoke and heat drove him back. In desperation, George ran to grab a ladder that was always kept beside the house. But when he got there, the ladder was gone. He then tried to start his coal truck to climb on top of it, but the engine wouldn't turn over. Both of these things had worked perfectly the day before. By the time the fire department arrived, hours later, it was too late. The Sodder home was reduced to nothing but ash. When the fire was extinguished, investigators searched the rubble for the remains of the 5 missing children. Maurice, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jenny, 8, and Betty, 5. But they found nothing, not a single bone. The fire chief suggested that the flames had been hot enough to completely incinerate their bodies, but experts later refuted that claim. Even in the hottest fires, bones and teeth remain. Jenny began her own investigation. She burned animal bones in her wood stove to see if they would disintegrate. They didn't. The idea that the fire had completely erased her children simply didn't make sense. As the days turned into weeks, the Sodders began to notice strange details that deepened the mystery. A week before the fire, a man had come to the house trying to sell life insurance. When George refused, the man warned him that his house would go up in smoke and that his children would be destroyed. He mentioned George's outspoken criticism of Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy, as a possible reason. There were other oddities. Witnesses reported seeing unfamiliar cars parked along the road near the Sodder home the night of the fire. One woman claimed she saw the children peering out of a car window as it sped by. Another said she saw them in a Charleston hotel weeks later, accompanied by 2 adults. The most tantalizing clue came in 1968, when Jenny received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a photograph of a young man in his 20s with striking similarities to their son Louis. George traveled to Kentucky to investigate the sender, but he found nothing. The private investigator he hired to help with the case vanished without a trace. Despite their relentless search, the Sodders never found answers. George died in 1969, and Jenny followed in 1989. The billboard stood for decades, a haunting reminder of the mystery that consumed their lives. What's really happened to the Sodder children? Were they victims of the fire? Or were they taken that Christmas Eve, their disappearance masked by the flames? Even now, nearly 80 years later, the truth remains elusive, leaving behind one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in American history.
Thank you for watching. I am the Veiled Spectre, and I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications to stay informed of future uploads. There are many more stories to share, and I look forward to having you join me again. And remember, the shadows follow you everywhere.